Okay. Itamixkanatoni. Good morning. It is just 8 o'clock in the AM on Wednesday. Wednesday the 6th of September already, 2023, in the lunar cycle Okonoki, no Pakipis Tsotsith, when the choke cherries ripen. Shouldn't be long. Next week I think we'll be going into our last summer moon, and it definitely feels like summer is coming to a conclusion. This morning the house is so cold, Britt asked me to turn on the heat. The outside temperature right now I think is about 8 or 9 degrees Celsius. So, but it will warm up today. Warm up enough that we'll encounter rattlesnakes and such. I've been getting snake calls every day the last few days because they're all making their way back to the dens. In fact, I'd like to go stop by the den at Heritage where I live, and which I did yesterday. I dropped off a bull snake there after picking it up a couple blocks from my house, and then but I saw 2 rattlesnakes. They zipped down into the crags, but I think I could sneak up on them with my camera and such and get a look at them. Looks like my trap is empty. I'm over here at the ballpark on the north side, one of the ballparks on the north side, looking to trap a badger who is dug under this shed. Now, badgers, if they're in their hole, you won't actually see the hole like this, unless they're just digging. But if they're in their hole and they're going to sleep or whatever, they will backfill that hole so that predators just can't come in there and surprise them, you know? Or nothing can get in there and surprise them. But yeah, trying to see if I can catch this badger for parks. I told them badgers have super big territories. You know, they are really extensive territories. They have, everywhere they go, they dig one of those holes, you know, to nest in for the night or whatever. And if I don't catch him in probably the first 4 days here, I'm guessing she or he is split and not coming back. So I'm just doing my first night of monitoring here. We have to go over into Legacy Ridge, set up a skunk trap at a residence. I got to shoot down into the wilderness park for a very quick little hike over to the river to grab my camera trap, which I had set back up, even though I think in one of my previous videos I showed I was removing the camera, taking it away. I decided to set it back up, same place, and put it on low sensitivity, because even with the normal sensitivity I was getting, you know, 1,000 plus images or videos or whatever. Every blade of grass that moved was triggering the camera, so I set it to low. And I did already switch out SD cards once, so I know already that even at low sensitivity, it's too sensitive. It just must be the way that I have it set, because it's right in, you know, it's a low angle in the grass and things are going to be moving, you know. Maybe if I had the camera set to in a scene where you know, it's anchored to a tree and there's not a bunch of grass blades right in front of it, you know, maybe things would be different. But in this case, I don't have high hopes that we're going to see that mink. But I do want to show you something that I think is cool there. I think I know where the mink is living. I think it's pretty obvious, or at least where the access hole from the river leading up to that food or waste cache or whatever it is. Anyway, we're gonna go do that. Then probably I'm gonna have to by that time go bring Britt to work, and at some point I gotta climb up onto a house in Riverstone, take off my raccoon one-way door and install a shield. And we'll see what else. Like I say, I'm pretty sure we'll get snake calls. I'll show you some footage of the snake calls I've got the last couple of days. In fact, maybe I'll show you those right now while I'm on the way to set up the next skunk trap. There's a big snake in the garden.
I don't know how big it was, but yeah, just push it.
Oh, just pushes. Oh, I'm not pushing on the wrong piece of wood.
Hello.
Hey.
You're a braver man than I'll ever be.
Just know the snakes. Just in the strawberries in here.
Yeah, I have the hand in there. Okay. That's a beautiful laugh.
Yeah, you don't want to reach where you can't see around the Lethbridge coulees.
Do you see him?
Not yet, but I will. Oh yeah. It's all flattened out, upset already. I haven't even started. Hold on. Yeah. Right upset.
Why are you stepping back, Jim?
Because I'm getting the flowers ways like that. Can you take a look, see? You don't mind?
Oh yeah.
Coming right away.
Yeah.
He's not quite as big as I thought. I guess that's always when people see him, but
Yeah.
he was partway underneath our bin at the back.
They're all on their migration back
Is that what it is?
to the dens. Yeah.
We've never had one look this way before. We've been here for 8 years. So.
He's probably been in the neighborhood all summer, just undetected.
I just about stepped on. I was coming very surprised. He's all curled up in the corner there.
Oh yeah.
There's the dog.
It's migration time.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it is. They're going back to the dens. I'll give him the express trip.
Is he rattling?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was rattling for me. He was right up. He was coiled right up.
Snake in the road, Heritage, my neighborhood. Awesome.
Bull snake, yes?
Bull snake, yeah. Indeed.
Anything else, sir?
No, thank you.
Have a good day.
Whoa. It's like, no, I don't want to go in there. I don't care. You're going in. You're going in, bud. You're going in. Come on. Very upset. All right, here is the location of our skunk trap we're going to set this morning. I've trapped it this house before. Neighbor reported seeing a skunk go under. It's got to be right in there. So I'm going to set my trap right here. Bait it with a little bit of peanut butter. Yeah, I've been using peanut butter a bit more lately because a lot of raccoons have kind of figured out the traps. Okay? Well, I shouldn't say a lot of raccoons, but enough to start making raccoon trapping a bit frustrating. They figured out somehow that you can't step on that bar. Probably because they stepped on one before and saw what happened. And traumatic experiences tend to make things stick. With raccoons. With skunks, not so much. It seems like I can catch and catch and catch and catch and catch skunks. They're never going to stop hitting the trap. But a raccoon now will, if they know what they're doing, will come up to here, reach over, grab the stuff, and be gone. If I was baiting for a raccoon, I would not leave this this tin just free to be able to be grabbed. What I've been doing is taking the top of these sardine tins, zip tying it to the cage itself, so that the raccoon isn't going to be able to just take the whole glob of peanut butter, you know, and he's not going to be able to take the thing that the peanut butter is in. He's going to have to, if he wants the peanut butter, he's going to have to get in there and really lick it off of that tin, and ultimately, I'm sure in the process, step on the pedal. So that's what's kind of currently happening. But the problem with baiting with peanut butter is that everything likes peanut butter. So, you know, I like to use when there's, for instance, stray cats and stuff like that around, or people's cats, you know, I like to use raw eggs unopened, because the wild animals know what they are, smell them, go after them. The domestic cats are pretty clueless. You know, domestic cats are hunters. They're not opportunists taking eggs and stuff like that. So they leave them alone, and it's a good way to make sure you're not trapping everybody's cats in an area where, especially, you know, you get around cat people that have a little toxoplasma. They get a little kooky when they see traps. You're trapping my animals. No, that's not what we're up to. I've had cat people call, you know, authorities on me, claiming that I'm driving around with cats in traps and abusing them and stuff like this, just because they saw a trap, you know, on the back of my truck or something. Nothing in it or anything like that, but they'll make up shit, because when they see a trap like that, they think it's a cat trap, and their mind's all eaten up by the toxoplasma gondii bacteria, and they don't know what the heck's going on. So they just come to the cat's defenses every time, even though the cats aren't in need of defense. So now we're going to go down into the wilderness park, grab that camera trap, and we might have enough time. Oh, there's a jackrabbit on the road. Now, I don't know if you guys saw the... I don't know if you guys saw the mountain cottontail as I was walking into the ballpark right when the video started, but there was a mountain cottontail there, and now this is a white-tailed jackrabbit. So you've seen this morning both of our wild rabbit species. Yeah, we'll go down and get this camera trap. We might be cormorants on the river. Certainly probably going to be pelicans, but the other day when Carol and I were here, there there were cormorants, which is a pretty cool bird. It's part of the beaver bundle that I took care of. Like I physically had a cormorant in my bundle, and our bundle was repatriated from a museum, and not many bundles have those cormorants in them. And when the elders saw the cormorant in the bundle, they didn't even know what it was. And it has like a beak that's just all full of teeth, hey? And they thought it must be an extinct bird. And I quickly learned them that no, that's a cormorant. They still exist and they live around here, out by Sterling. I think they nest in the lake there on that island. There's always lots of cormorants up there. But they're a fish-eating bird. They're diving fish-eating birds, so you only see them certain places, just everywhere. Anyhow, headed down the coulee. Be down to the river soon. Just here at the rapids, seeing who's around. Haven't spotted any cormorants yet. There are gulls, you can probably hear ring-billed gulls. Probably searching for crawdads. Yeah, other than the water, it is actually pretty quiet here this morning. Different than it was this weekend. Kind of more hopping with birds. One of my phenology students, which by the way, I run a online Phenology course, which is a course in which you train to engage you train through practice to engage with more and more species in your environment at a particular site for a year long, okay? And I usually start the course, like if somebody wants to start the course, I recommend they start at the new moon in October, which is the first lunar cycle of winter. And I would recommend that to anybody who wants to take the course. And just let me know if you do. It's there is a small fee for the course, but it's hosted online on a private Facebook group. And once you've gone through the course for a year, you can remain in the group permanently, right? So it's currently has, I think, maybe 100-something members, people that have trained the course for a year, and it's a kind of just a fun learning community. Okay, the whole idea was to grow a phenologically aware community, and phenology is the observance of seasonal behaviors of plants and animals. So, and I follow the Blackfoot tradition, like you see in these videos. I'm looking at what's happening in particular lunar cycles rather than necessarily in the annual sun cycle. So, any case, I have a student in there who asked me a question. She works at Calgary Zoo and is designing curriculum for school visits and stuff to the zoo, and she took the course, And the question that she had was whether I had any good Blackfoot stories or anything that illuminated how the corvids, crows, magpies, ravens, how they used to relate to the people. Because as part of the course, I teach that the eagle that most people look on very, very highly as sacred bird and all of this, that's kind of a pan-Indian thing. In the real Blackfoot tradition, those corvids, especially the crows, are really the most sacred bird. They're the ones that can go to the sun and get things for us from the source. That's why they're black. But there's plenty of stories about that, about how they helped us. But I think one good story, maybe for school groups, although you'd have to like tinker with it. I'll tell you the whole shebang here, and what I know of it. But and I know there's more actually to it. But for a school group, you'd probably want to give them a little bit of a abridged version. We will get into that, but we're here at the camera trap now. Up close there too. See the camera. We'll be curious to learn whether or not that little guy poked his head up and got himself on film at all. Let's turn this camera off. It's been 3 nights here since I last visited and grabbed the SD card out of it, so probably it only made it a couple of nights before shutdown. But anyway, see where this hole is. It's kind of lined up with this tree, hey, in terms of the river. If you were going to go directly from the hole to the river, you'd be going to this tree. I just noticed when I came down here the other day, because I was looking for, is there a way that I can maybe set the camera up down here to get the mink, entering the hole or what have you. This is the beaver lodge, big beaver lodge, and the river is high right now. It's going right to the cut bank, so there really is no place, along the bank or anything to situate a camera. I could put a camera here on the beaver lodge, but then I'm going to lose my camera to the beavers, no doubt about it. But what I thought was interesting here is there's a secondary lodge right there under that tree, and it was built by beavers, probably a 2-year-old male that was getting ousted from the house, and he didn't move far to start. But I'm betting now that there's a little cut bank burrow in there, and that burrow is occupied by the mink, and the mink pops up that way, probably to use the washroom. At first, when I saw this stuff, I thought it was some kind of place where he was coming up to eat, and it might be. I just haven't, that's why I put the camera trap there, both to identify who it is, but also to try to figure out what's going on here. Do all mink do this? And it looks like shit to me when I look close, eh? Shit that's filled with crawdad parts. You can see a crawdad arm right here. But I think it's shit. high calcium shit. And I don't see any new shit. Maybe this one. Maybe that's a new shit. But yeah, I think this is a latrine rather than eating place. So this whole time I've been a creep with my camera here aimed at the poor muskrat's toilet. And the muskrat hasn't obliged other than popping his head out those first couple nights and like, what's going on here? Yeah, I have not got more shots of the muskrat. So I'm going to take the camera now. I think maybe later on when the water goes down, or when I have more access to getting a camera set up down there where I can see something about what's going on at that little lodge, then I might set up again. Any case, I'm gonna head back out here quick, and we will return to the corvid story here soon. Sorry. I would have just gone straight into the story, except I heard my phone ding and I knew that was going to be a message from Britt, and I figured I'd better attend to it before I got into the big long story, so I did that. Any case, the story that I'm thinking about is a Nappy story. So it's old, hey? This is pre-dog days Nappy story, because the dogs don't even come into play until, you know, the origins of the beaver bundle. And so Nappy stories are, well, they're current because they are talking about how, you know, how the world is currently, how it came to be that way, especially. And so in the story that I'm thinking about, this was a time a long time ago. It must, I mean, Nappy stories I associate with the glaciation, because I mean, most of the stories, they talk about changes to the plants and animals that occurred in that big dramatic era. There were already human beings here. You know, if you study the stories and traditions from North America, it's pretty obvious that the people here experienced the Ice Age come and go, and they experienced a giant flood. You know, there's things that happen and that are talked about in these stories that, you know, that people couldn't have storied about if they didn't live through that stuff. They weren't just arriving to North America at that time. They had been here a long time. And we don't really know what things were like before that. And Blackfoot stories kind of start at that moment, you know, at that Nappy time. In fact, it is in a Nappy story, a gambling story, where he wins the black waters coming east off of the mountains, and it kind of defines what Blackfoot territory is. And Blackwater is even still today a famous Blackfoot name. It's a family last name now in the English tradition. But any case, the story I'm thinking about, the Nappy story, is the story of Akipiskan, the women's buffalo jump. And at that time, so early a time, the humans were living, they were modeling their way of life off of the bison and the deer and, you know, all of these ungulates, especially the bison. But so the men and the women lived in separate camps, you know, like those kind of animals do. And it's kind of funny. At one time in my life, when I was working repatriations, helping tribes get sacred items and things out of the museums, I contracted with the Hoopa Tribe from Northern California, from Hoopa Valley. And there, the Hoopa, the Karuk, and the Yurok, they all share a culture, a way of life and stuff. They live on 3 separate, you know, parts of a river system there that feed into the ocean. They each got their own territories and their own villages and stuff. They're their own tribes, but they share a common culture. What's most interesting is that, you know, they're 3 entirely different languages from entirely different language families. And most people would say that, you know, if you have a language is, you know, the key to the culture. But these guys were using 3 entirely different languages and practicing the same culture. So I don't know about that. But in any case, the Hoopa and the Karuk and the Yurok, they all lived in this way where they were living a pattern of life all the way up to contact with white people. They were living with the men and the women in different camps. They were following the way of the deer. Hey? They were following the way of the deer. And so men and women would live in different camps. They would only, you would have a wife, you know, but you would only come to camp together at a certain time, you know, when the mating season occurs. It was coincided with their acorn harvest. So the men and the women would, you know, husbands would stay with their wives in tents and such, and during the mating season. So if you were born and you weren't a Taurus, you know, you weren't an April-May baby, you're an illegitimate child in that system. And I think that's how things used to be here, you know, according to this Nappy story. The men and the women were living in different camps. And, you know, the women had the children, including the boys, up to a certain age. And then when they started, you know, to go through puberty, they have to move with the men. And so the women's camp, you know, their material culture, their teepee, lodges, you know, all of the things that they used in their lodges, all their tools and stuff, they were very nicely made, you know, really artistically put together and stuff. And the men's camp, it was said, you know, things were pretty rough. The hides weren't, especially the hides for the lodges and the clothes and all of this, were not well tanned, because the men didn't have the patience to do it right, you know. And, you know, on the other hand, like, the men were usually getting good amounts of food, and the women might not have as much success hunting, except in this case the women had found a good cliff to run the buffalo off, and they put a biscun, an enclosure under that cliff, you know, kind of a fenced in ring to catch any bison that didn't die coming off of the cliff, didn't get its legs broken or what have you. And people would from down below, you know, kill the ones that weren't already dead from falling off, finish them off. And this place, Akipiskan, exists. I've been there many, many times. And in the story, the women's camp had a pet magpie, and the men's camp had a pet crow. And it is my understanding from several of the early stories and some of the bundle stories that the corvids were kind of assigned by the sun to be our help, especially our hunting companions, okay, to help us in the hunt. And they will, the wild corvids here today will still do this if you let them. I mean, they're doing it. If you take walks in the coulees like I do, there are definitely times where magpies call out to me and tell me something's here. They give a triple call, wah, wah, wah. And I'll know, oh, there's something, they want me to go look at under that tree that they're in or nearby where they are or what have you. I go over there almost every time there's something. There's something, either a big pheasant pops out, or there's a deer fawn in there, or porcupine or something. And then I walk away and it leaves the magpies wondering, well, what the heck, You're supposed to kill this thing, and then we're gonna, eat the stuff you don't want. They are our hunting partners. They've been our hunting partners for who knows how many thousands of years of our evolution. We were close with the corvids. Even when white people first started coming to Blackfoot territory, there's a photograph I think Walter McClintock took. It's in the Beinecke Rare Book Collection at Yale University, but it's accessible. That whole photograph collection is accessible from Beinecke's site online. It's been digitized and colorized, and you'll see photographs of pet magpies in Blackfoot camps from that time, described as pet magpies. But these are hunting partners. Later on, dogs also, start playing that role with us when they came in with the beaver bundle. But that's not their main role. Dogs' main role is protection. Dogs' main role is protection. The magpies and the crows and the ravens, their main relationship with us is as hunting partners. And we're supposed to be splitting our bounty, So the women's camp had a magpie, and the men's camp had a crow. And one day the women ran a bunch of buffalo over the cliff, and their pet magpie made off with a big chunk of fat that one of the women had, in her butchering, had just put aside and scrap stuff, and he came and took it, and he flew off with it and went a ways from the camp with it toward where the men's camp was. And the men's crow just happened to be out and about doing its own thing, saw that magpie with its big clump of fat in its beak, and it kind of went after it and made the magpie drop it, and it took that fat, brought it back to the men's camp. Now at the men's camp, while they normally got lots of food, they hadn't had any in a while. They normally, beat out the women in terms of their ability to get food, but they hadn't had any for a while, and they didn't have a cliff like the women had there. And so when the men saw that big chunk of fat, they're like, I wonder where this comes from. And Nappy was the leader of the camp at the time. Nappy, the old man, some people say the trickster, but this is just the embodiment of all the human foibles. And Nappy is the leader of the camp, and his best friend is Apisi. Well, his name, I'm saying Coyote in Blackfoot, but that really, there was an older name. It had to do with wandering around, like Apawawaka, but that's not it. But something like that. There's another name that people used to call coyotes that talk about how they wandered in their movement. So his friend, well, I'll just call him Apisi. Nappy asked him to use his power, his connection with the coyotes, to figure out where that chunk of fat had come from. And so Apisi did a ritual where he went, 4 stops around their camp and sniffed the air and howled and such, and then took off in a particular direction where he had learned through his coyote powers where the fat had come from. So he went for a ways traveling, and then he came across the women's camp, and he went up and stood on the ridge above, basically on their buffalo jump, and then the women noticed him, and the leader of that camp sent someone up and told him to come down to her lodge and be greeted. So this is what he does. He goes down to meet the leader of the women's camp, and he's tells her the story about the fat that came to their camp, and they're like, yes, we recently were butchering a lot of buffalo here that had gone over our jump. And he said, well, we haven't even had any buffalo for a while. And they got to discussing, and what they decided ultimately was maybe it's time that the men and women came together in the same camp instead of being in different camps. Maybe it's time to change this up and live together. And of course, that kind of sounds like a coyote-ish idea, right? It sounds like something a coyote would bring up as a better way of life. So Coyote goes back to the men's camp, and the agreement is he's going to round up the men. They're going to move over to the women's camp. When they come to the camp, they're going to all stand up on top of that cliff, on top of that bison jump, and the women will come up to greet them, and the women will pick their husbands, select their husbands, which, I don't know if it makes sense, because from what I've seen from this kind of way of life in actuality, in the Hoopa, they already have their husbands and stuff. But in the Blackfoot, maybe it's different, just like they're, following the deer and the bison a little more closely, because, maybe they don't have a particular mate every year, right? So the women are going to come up and choose their husbands, and then they will go live happily ever after. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Apisi went to the men's camp, told Nappy about this, and all the men were excited. Yeah, let's live with the women from now on, and that'll be good. Then our stuff won't be so shitty, our hides won't be so gross and tough, our clothes will be better, and we'll all be hunting together, and we'll all have food. Everything will be hunky-dory. So, yeah, the men were excited, and they left. The next day, of course, they took down their camps and they moved. They moved, and they went and they lined up on that cliff And the women, so happened, had got another few bison and were down, butchering them in the corral in the Biscun when the men came. And then so the women didn't want to be, necessarily seen like that with the bison guts and blood and stuff all over them when they met their man. So they all went to their lodges quickly to clean up and change and stuff. But the leader of the women's was like proud of, that she was able to, get bison like that. Proud to be butchering and all of this. And so she wasn't going to get washed up at all. She was going to go find her husband, who should be the leader of the men's group, who she knew as this Nappy. And Apisi had told her how to recognize who Nappy was. So the men are lined up, and once the women are ready, they come up to choose husbands. And the very first woman, to go choose her husband is the leader, the female leader of the camp. And she walks up to Nappy and tries to grab his hand. He's like, oh, pulls away from her. And she's like taken aback for a minute. And she reaches out again. He's like, hey, And he was looking at her. He's like, that's not the woman that I want, all bloodied up and shit, Didn't even go and beauty herself up. So Nappy had no interest. And the leader of the women's was insulted, of course. And so she announced to all the other women, choose your husbands. I'm going to take this man, Apisi, who came to our camp, as my husband. But you all choose your husbands, yet nobody choose this man who thinks he's too good for me. And so all the women took husbands. She took Apisi. They went back to the camp, and Nappy was left alone. Nobody chose him. And so he waited, and I forget how to say it, but how the old ladies would talk about him being a lone pine tree. But, standing there alone. A lone pine. And which is another Blackfoot name, by the way, a family name now. But yeah, he waited, and the night was come, and nobody had come to choose him as a husband. And so he got mad, and he started stomping on their buffalo jump, and eventually he caved it in. He crushed part of the cliff in, and so you can see today in the cliff where that actually is, and all of that, how it's described, and how it looks at the jump itself. So that's an example of where you see the corvids, the crows, and the magpies come into play in these stories, and it's a rare version of that story that includes that, in fact, because a lot of people have forgotten about the importance of the crow and the magpie with colonization and more exposure to the pan-Indian tradition of eagle worship. My understanding in the Blackfoot tradition, eagles were recognized as basically a type of vulture, a carrion eater, not nearly the kind of visionary of a corvid. Like the crows, for instance, are the ones that get the thunder pipe for the people, that are able to overcome and beat the thunder into submission, into agreeing to only be here half the year, and into giving the people that pipe to secure their protection into the future. It was the crows that did this. Hey, it was the crows that went up and got the tobacco from the sun after the brothers who originally were given tobacco seeds through their dreams beaver bundle owner brothers, and they wouldn't share them with the people. Then it was the crow that went up and got another type of tobacco seed, a smaller plant, the plant that I grow myself from the beaver bundle. And it's different from the jungle looking tobacco that most people think is the traditional tobacco. It is one of the traditional tobaccos, but it's not the most sacred. It's the one that came through the brother's dream, not directly from the sun. The crows have the power, and the magpies as well, what they call at sea suppi, which means that they're able to almost remote view. They know everything that's going around in their environment. They have ecological, which is something that I include in my atsumoiskan, in my morning smudge and stuff every day. And please give us high awareness, real awareness of what's going on in our environment. And the crows and the magpies and the corvids in general have such an amazing awareness that they're even, their awareness is the next level. At sea suppi, they're able to see things, that they shouldn't be able to see. Hey, they know things are going on that they shouldn't be able to know. And they were our old hunting partners. So those are some of the things that I've learned about, traditional stories related to those. Any case, I'm going to jump out. We got to take Brittany to work in about an hour, so I don't want to go get started on the raccoon house because it might take me more than an hour. We'll wait till I drop her off, and then we'll head to Riverstone. And when it warms up, we'll check the Heritage Snake Den and see what else the day brings. It is noontime now, high noon, and Britt has been dropped off at work, and I'm going to climb up on top of this roof and check out my one-way door, see if there's any indication that anything has gone wrong or right with it. The last couple of nights I've left it here 48 hours, and if it all looks good, we're going to take it off and install a shield up in there. So let's go check it out. Oh. These raccoons are pretty amazing how little support they need to climb up onto a roof like this. I really inspected all around the property when I came here the other day, and the only thing, I think, the only access they have is this tree over here. And there's just little spindly bits of ends of branches that come low enough to meet the roof. They must come up on here and kind of make a leap for it. I don't know. It seems pretty crazy to me. Anyway, the area where they're coming in and out is just over here. And so far, at a glance, it's looking good. It's looking like they must have come out and not gone back in, because otherwise, like what I was using a less sturdy mesh for this process, and even using that mesh for the shields, and it just wasn't working. So yeah, so it looks like they must have come out, because they wouldn't stay in there 48 hours and unable to get back in. Yeah, it looks like the door has definitely been opened. So it came back, but not all the way in. It was all the way in when I left it. But even that, it was enough to they can't pull it back out and get in there. So I'm going to unzip this, take it off, take off a little bit of this soffit here, get a measurement, cut some wood, put up a shield. Yeah, you can see how they do this now, hey? Push their way in, and then they can, you know, get in the crawl spaces, climb up in here and get wherever they want to go once they find an access that way. I think they went right through there. Anyway, get some measurements and get some shielding up in this bad boy. Hey, is this Darcy?
It is Darcy. How are you?
I'm good. This is Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
I got your message, so I will shoot over there and pick up the skunk.
Okay, well, thank you. We haven't had a skunk all summer, so.
Yeah, I know.
I
Hey,
don't know.
it's been a long time.
Okay.
Okay.
You betcha. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so just in the nick of time, I've finished this job. Could probably use some brand new soffit, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. A little bit warped, but you can't even see this corner from the bottom, so you know, visibility, you know, or aesthetics of the visible doesn't really matter down here all that much. What really matters is that now, if a raccoon pushes through here, there's a shield back there. They ain't getting in the crawl space, you know. So now we got to go to the north side and hustle a skunk. Poor Skunky laying in the sun. Probably gonna spray me here. Working on a new skunk art piece. Got Got a long ways to go on this one. Alright, I think we'll take him to Pavan Park, drop him off, come bring him back, and return to the west side. If we don't have any other calls between now and then, we'll go check on the Rattlesnakes of Heritage. See if they're up and basking.
Hello?
Hey, is this Kayla?
It sure is.
Hi, this is Ryan. I got your message about a wasp nest
Yes.
through the rattlesnake hotline. So, could I come by in the next hour or so and take a look at what you got going on there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'll probably actually clear them in the morning, but I'd like to take a look this afternoon. So, I'll swing
Yeah.
by.
I don't think anyone's going to be home.
It's all right as long as I
But,
can access it.
It's in the back. It's in the back, and it's right. There's a pallet in the yard. And
Okay.
it's right under there.
Okay. Cool. I'll come check it out.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Oh, and what do you charge for those?
It's typically $100 unless it's some, like I charge $50 an hour. It usually takes,
Okay.
over an hour to 2 hours to do, but unless
Okay.
it's some really weird circumstance. Okay.
Yeah, just go into the backyard and let me know what you can do.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, bye.
All right, lining up a wasp job for tomorrow. We'll go take a look. And I just ordered... Awesome. I just ordered 10 medium rats. My snake food for the next month or so for my snakes. So we got to swing by that place. I figured I better order it while I'm over here on the north side, because I've been meaning to pick up some snake food, and I buy from a private guy. He runs a company out of his house called Superior Serpents, and he's the guy with the good rats, good prices for rats in town. So $45 I get a bag of 10 medium rats. That's a lot of snake food for $45. So we'll pick those up. Then we'll go look at the Rattlesnakes of Heritage. Then we'll go check out this wasp nest that I'll end up clearing tomorrow morning. But right now, down to release the skunk in the river bottom. The choke cherries. Buckkeep. Looking good. Looking good. Alright, let's let this skunk head on his way. Oh yeah, I forgot. These guys' trap is one of these that you gotta hold open yourself. Fortunately, those skunks, once they're a little bit mature, they rarely try to skunk me as they're coming out. The little guys, though, they're all ornery. They want to fight the younger ones. Okay, let's go pick up some snake food quick and bounce to the west side. Hello. Those must be my rats. Perfect. Perfect. Back in my hood. Heritage. I think I'm just going to stop off at the house after we look at the snake dens here. I think I'm just going to stop off at the house, put those rats in the freezer, except for 3 of them. I'm going to take 3 of them out and thaw them out for the snakes. Grab an ice pack, throw it in my cooler, and then head over and look at those wasps, because you know it's not too hot a day. I've been doing wasp nests mostly in the morning just for my comfort, because it gets too hot in the day, and wearing all those layers of clothing for protection gets pretty warm. What's this magpie up to? Remember? Talk about magpies. Yeah, he's out of here. Out of here. He's hunting something though. I like to pay attention to the magpies in particular. I got very big fondness of them from having raised Derek. And usually the magpies are, you know, like I say, they have that ecological and that high awareness such that, you know, if you pay attention to what they're doing, you're going to learn what's going on phenologically in the area at the moment. Could be some kind of insect, you know, emergence, something like that. They cue me into lots of things. One time I even saw like a group of them flying into the coulee while I was living in Riverstone, and I knew something was up in that coulee from just seeing them all moving down there like that. So I went to go check it out, and sure enough there was a deer that had gotten attacked by coyotes or something, but still quite a bit of the deer left there, and the magpies were all over it. So Heritage, where I live here, this is my backyard, and I really fucking love it here. You know, I love my house. I love that I live right here at the edge of the coulee by the high level bridge. I love that there's rattlesnakes here, and there's other snakes. You know, down that way there's bull snake dens, garter snake dens. At the beginning of the season, this summer, I saw there was a bull snake denning with the rattlesnakes up here. Now, you know, one of the things about the snakes is they absolutely need to get down below the frost level in the winter, so they're going to choose winter dens that have depth to them. And one of the easiest ways to get under that frost line is to choose a place where there's erosion, where the land is splitting, and then you'll know there's deep fissures that go down, and that's what's going on here at Heritage. Believe it or not, I don't know if you can tell by the grass, but there's a little bit of difference. There's a crag that's going along here, and very close to the, you know, public walkway and stuff. I put a warning out on the Heritage Facebook site, because when the snakes are right here, I do like to remind people, you know, better stay on the trail. Don't have your kids running around out here. Don't have your dog off leash, you know. Alright, let's see if anybody's home here. See, like this is one of the entry holes here. I believe I saw a rattlesnake here, just right here yesterday. But there's several other entry points along here. Let's see if we can bump into any snakes. Might have been a bit too cool a night, and they're just staying under, I'm not sure. Yeah, there's lots of entry points along this crag. I am surprised though, not seeing any snaky poos. Thought for sure they'd be out basking by now. It's plenty warm enough. Oh well. If they're here, they're here. If they're not, they're not. There's some kind of a stone cairn in the ground here. Ancient. I think the cairn originally was supposed to depict Ski. At least that's kind of what I was told. There's a cairn by Paradise that's supposed to be a turtle. Spot B, and that's an indication of tobacco planting grounds below. And then, yeah, there's no snakes out. I am surprised. Yeah, there's the turtle, spot B, indicating the tobacco planting grounds, and then there was Ski here, I think because Algogots and the old Sundance grounds was just right out in here, you know, because this was a berry harvesting area. The Algogots and the Sundance always occurred where the berry harvesting is, and people are always shocked to hear that there's Sundance here in Lethbridge. They can't imagine it, but I've got the photographic evidence, you know. I got a picture. Guy must have been sitting on the ridge somewhere just back there. And the camera would be facing in this direction toward kind of in that direction, you know, toward the west looking, and you can see the whole encampment down there. You know, now it's kind of forested over, but there's a snake. Whoop, he zipped in. One little rattlesnake at the last little hole. But yeah, there's snakes all the way up and down these holes. So this is a very rattlesnake-y area right in here. Definitely do not want to be moving quickly, nor do you want to bring pets or children, or just be unaware in any way as you're coming around through here. Alright, so let's go over to the house, let the dogs out, grab that ice pack, and 866. I don't need to be answering 866 numbers. Who knows what the heck that is. Yeah, there's so many entry points, and I see snakes at lots of these points, lots of these different positions. So it's not just, they probably all go into, you know, one big chasm here where the ground is splitting. But you can encounter snakes anywhere along the way. But yeah, let's go over to the house, grab ice pack, let the dogs out, and we'll go check out that wasp scene. Maybe just take care of the job this afternoon. Doggos! Oh, what's up? What's up, doggos? You guys want to go out? Hold on, put down this shit. Alright, let's go. Still got lots of apples out here. I've been juicing them a couple of times a week. Had some folks stop by wanting to pick some too, but I don't think they picked a bunch. I think they might have got grossed out because, you know, it's on the lawn and there's dog shit here and there and stuff too. Not a whole lot of apples left in the tree at this point. Let's see. Need to get those rats put away. Just want to take 3 out now for feeding my snakes tonight. Yeah, I'm thinking I would like to maybe get into the guinea pig business, because my big snake Tuesday, who ate Oscar. Sorry, I know people are like, how can you laugh at that? You killed your bird. And you know, it is what it is. So they wouldn't, you know, people don't or didn't, because at first I thought that Oscar was killed by one of the dogs, and that's what I kind of talked about first on social media, that my dogs had, one of the big dogs that I'm taking care of must have eaten Oscar. And nobody had any bad shit to say about the dogs at that point. But as soon as I learned that it was a snake, and I posted this, that the snake had killed it actually, I got a lot of criticism from people, you know, just because they hate snakes. People still got that, I don't know what it is. Like, it's, I know they want to say it's like natural, it's inborn, because they've done those experiments with chimps and stuff, and they fear the snakes, you know, but I don't know, man. Check it out. This is my big hornet nest that I was watching all season. It started crumbling apart already from the weather and the turn of the season. So I had to go ahead and pull it before it all fell apart too quickly. And so this is what I've got there. It's a pretty nice nest from this angle. But if you turn it around, it's all kind of messed up on this side. So this is obviously going to be the side that's against wood or whatever in what I'm thinking about a bookshelf or something like that. Some kind of mounting for this so I can put it on the wall and, you know, sell it as a native, or not native, but nature art, you know. Nature's art. The art of the wasps. In this case, the bald-faced hornets. Yeah, I was trying to kind of glue some of the envelope back together on there, but oh, and look, we've got a dead hornet. There were still a few workers inside of there, you know, that are not really flight capable anyway, and so we're not able to leave when I was taking the nest, and the queen, of course. But they should all find their way to places. I've seen some of them crawling around the, like, look. Here's some right here. Whoa, there's a flyer too. Yeah, there's probably 10 wasps here trying to make their way to the door. Maybe I'll open that door and let them head out. Yeah, several wasps. All right, speaking of wasps, we got to get onto that job. Just want to throw this in my cooler so that whatever nest I take there, stays cool until I bring it wherever I'm going to bring it. Probably to Spopikami. You know, she said it was underneath a pallet, so I'm thinking maybe that means it's an underground nest, in which case I'll probably bring it to the same place in the coulee that I brought that. Look at this. This is a nice, like, top sheath with just a tiny little beginnings of a nest there. All right, you guys, head out. I'm gonna have to help them out, I think. I like this little nest is gonna make something good. Again, I'm probably gonna put it on like something of a bookshelf or something like that. You know, where it's open here, these will be the parts that I glue on, but it'll look like, you know, that, hey? All right, I'm gonna pack things up here and usher these guys out onto my front lawn to find their way into leaf debris or what have you. Hopefully there's some new queens among them, and we'll go look at the next situation. All right, we are here at 265 Jerry Potts Boulevard, and I'm told that there's a pallet in the backyard, and the wasp nest is under the pallet. Well, there we go. That is easy enough. It's right there. Pallet is turned over, and that is a wasp nest. That won't take me too long at all. Okay. Is there any more to it? I don't think so. I don't see any other pieces of envelope or anything like that. And it really, you know, doesn't have that many active members still working it. So I think just take this and put it in the box. It must have been right there. Oh yeah, there's the rest of the envelope in this hole here. Okay. I wonder if there's any more cones in there. I'll check. I don't think so though, because look at the little one on the end here. So let us grab our equipment and move some wasps. All right. I think first thing, I'm gonna really have to eyeball whether or not that nest is gonna fit in this cooler. If it doesn't look like it's gonna fit in the cooler, I think I'll use my snake bucket. Okay. Ah, no, I think you'll fit. I think you'll fit. Where are you guys gonna get the best look at the action? I didn't put on my underlayer, my coveralls. I'm just got t-shirts and stuff like that on under here. just what I was wearing. So, but that's because it just didn't seem like there was going to be a ton of members. I'm going to get swarmed, but not too swarmed, you know. Oh yeah, fits fine. Boom. All right, so I've got the nest here. So, oh, see, and let's see if there's anything in the ground here still, other than that sheath. Oh, there's some wasps. All right, so my next step is I'm going to get the vacuum and catch as many of these members of the hive as I can with the vacuum, and hopefully a good number of them live, so we can reintroduce them where we introduce this, which I'm not sure where I'm going to put it, because I think my shed is getting crowded. It needs, you know, similar protection to what it had here, right? It's an underground kind of a nest, and I don't know, may move it to the pond, like I said. Put it where I had that other nest that didn't succeed. Maybe I can make this one succeed there. But yeah, I'm gonna get my vacuum and go to work with that. Speaking me now. I have another something coming up already. I got a message about an injured hawk on the side of the road between Kip and Colehurst. So we're going to do our wasp relocation here and then head over there to deal with that. But interestingly, when I come over here to where the only other wasp nest that was underground that I relocated this year, I relocated to here, and it looked like it's sunken. Just obviously not a success. I wonder how the hive portion is looking. Not so hot. Not so hot. Okay. I'm gonna dig this out a little bit more. This time I'm going to use a board, okay? A board. I'm just going to, like that. I'm not even going to, maybe I'll try to conceal it a little bit, not too much, but. So I'm going to dig this out a little bit, make room for this nest, and we'll try using a board for the underground hive this time. All right. Like I said, I wasn't going to do too much concealment and stuff. I don't know how many of those workers I totally just lost when I opened the vacuum and they all flew out, but that's the way it goes. I know some of them are sticking close. Hopefully they'll figure out, because of all of the envelope and stuff, hopefully they'll figure out to go under here, hey? So we'll leave it at that. It's much like its former palette, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you know, give it our best shot not to just be an exterminator. I've had about 50% now, maybe a little bit more than 50% nest relocations successful. But I haven't really been successful with the underground one yet, because I only did one and you saw how that turned out. In fact, I should probably bring this bit to the garbage can, since I'm headed this way anyway. So this area out here is where I got a pin sent to me as the injured hawk's location. Just driving in here, I did not see, you know, from the road above looking down, I did not see an injured hawk, or any hawk. So perhaps someone has already come by and picked it up just in the last, because the person who messaged me had seen it this morning, seen it this afternoon, and right when she was messaging me, she said she came and checked again and gave me the exact, you know, it's right in here. So I figured I better at least get on the ground here and have a look, because maybe I missed it driving by, although I think I had pretty good perspective driving by. So I don't know if we're gonna find this hawk, but at least we tried. So I'm gonna continue to look here. If I don't find it, this will probably be the end of the video, unless we get a snake call. It's been around, hey, it's been a day.